Good morning. Ibrahim here again. This is just another quick update. This morning I was a keynote on for a speech on Birmingham. Birmingham, is that how it's pronounced? Birmingham University in the UK. And I was really honored to be there, um, especially for someone who's a college dropout. So talking in any university is definitely a privilege for me. And it was a quick talk where I was just introducing myself, telling them about my story and how I got into programming. And I think it resonated pretty well with some people. There was a lot more activities. There was a hackathon sort of thing where teams built some AIs to contribute to the data that comes in for COVID-19. It went pretty well. So I just wanted to give my little take. But especially about my story and what something I have shared, and I think it's important to share with the rest of the world to motivate people to get more into programming. So I started my first interaction with a computer was not a computer that I owned. It was my father who bought a computer for himself in his office, and he basically that was an investment in his own work and trying to be cutting edge. This was in 1992, so it's not like today where anybody can just go to Best Buy and grab a machine or just order it online. So there it was really a big investment for the family, and hoping that hopefully it will improve his career or things like that. For me, it was an exciting thing. Every time I would go to my father's office and take a look at the computer, try to play with it, and even though it was his work computer, so he would give me these floppy disks where he would save all his work. So he did that because he knew I would destroy the computer, and I destroyed the computer so many times. I would uh, try to install things, try to put random floppy disk inside, try to delete the different files, just playing around with it as a kid. I was 5 year old, so for me it was just a cool experience. But for him, it was like, yeah, just make sure you don't delete my files. So one of the skills that came out of that was installing software. It's a very underrated skill that nobody really talks about these days. But in order to be a programmer, you need to be able to install your tools, or you won't be able to do much with it. And it's also an advantage when you know how the computer deals with the files that you're putting in the hard drive. So early on, I learned to destroy computers. I tried to delete files in order to save space, like anything that ended with like a .ini I thought were useless, so I deleted those. The auto exec bat, I also deleted that or added a bunch of things on it and destroyed computers so many times. And eventually that led me to understand what these files do and their importance. And I realized that, okay, maybe you shouldn't delete a small, few byte size file just because you feel like it's useless. And it taught me a skill. Now I know how to install programs. When I work as a programmer, one of the main things I do, especially when I join a new company, is setting up my machine, installing different software, and making my life easier. And I feel like every single time I have to help someone else do it, it's a pain in the ass. And one of the reason it is because they don't really understand. They probably learned coding in a boot camp or these type of environments where they don't really insist on installing software, but mostly using pre-packaged software. So, for example, you just use, let's say you use React. You write a command and it installs it, and that is that. If you go into the real world where the program is installed in if there's any difference in the way it is installed, you're immediately lost. So I thought to tell people right now, like, one of the way you overcome that is to learn to install software, and you can do that by getting like an old machine, even if it's a cheap machine that you don't really use for anything. cheap machines are powerful these days. Get like something that's $200 or even less, and try to install different software on it. Like try to install your work environment, your programming environment in a cheap machine, and try to install it in various ways to see how things work. It's You can only learn from it. It's one of the key skills to help you at least minimize the time it takes for you to start working. For a few years, I was working as a contractor, and one notable thing about being a contractor as opposed to a full-time employee is there's no setup time. There's no when you join a company, they don't give you like 2 weeks to get used to things, to figure out how things work in a company. They call you, you come in on site, and they expect you to produce work right away. And that's that being able to install software easily is one of the key points. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to share that and insist a little bit about this unspoken skill, programming skill that people rarely mention. But yeah, learn to install software. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.